what is going on, collectors? Optical 20 back for another video. Today we are going to take a look at this newly released Batman Returns from Hot Toys, and you can still pre-order this at bigbadtoystore.com. I'll put the link down below. Man, this looks awesome. I'm not even the biggest Keaton fan. I'm a Keaton fan, you know. But it looks like I'm gonna have the trifecta here now, because I do have the deluxe 89, which is amazing. The diorama base, just the figure overall. I missed out on DX09, and then I decided to get the Flash version because I thought, hey, you know, the head sculpt of the older Michael Keaton, you can't go wrong with that. It's a beautiful head sculpt, you know, rolling eyeball system, and now we're here. And for all I know, I was like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna skip out on this. I don't really need this. I already have the older Keaton and then the younger one on 89. That is good enough for me. But here we are, Blogger Fit Pictures, and it inspires me to get one. I was just like, you know what? I'm one away from completing the trifecta, the trio. Why not? You know, the diorama base looks good. The head sculpt, you know, in some angles it turns out better than I thought it would be. In some angles, it would be like, all right, it's decent. If you were around the first time this was, you know, released, I had this, not the deluxe pack, because the 2-pack was expensive back then. So I had the single pack, but back then I sold it. I was disappointed. You can barely move the figure. And I think that's all the dilemma when it comes to Batman, especially with the Keaton Batman, because of the material that they use for the suit. It's rubber, so it's not, there's not a whole lot of gives to it, right? But here, you know, you'll see later on, especially with some poses by Zord photography, amazing poses. To be fair though, every figure that it feels like he holds poses well, so it doesn't mean I can do it, but he does pose figures very, very well. But this looks, you know, even if I'm not posing it well, something like this is I can see myself posing him. It still looks great, you know, like it's very photogenic. To be fair, both Keaton Batmans that I do have are very photogenic. I do like the diorama base that it comes with, although it feels a little undersized. I thought that the Doctor Doom was already kind of small. This one feels like it has a smaller footprint. However, you know, interchanging, you know, from that Catwoman to this, like an Eagle base now, it is pretty cool. You know, it's pretty cool. You don't need, all you need to do is sell the illusion that he is sort of standing on a ledge, so you could, you know, kind of pose him this way. I did have a taste of this wing, and this is massive, from the Flash Batman. It's amazing, and it's hard to store at the same time. Like, I like it, but I don't, you know, like I'm in that mode where it's nice to have, but how many times am I really going to use that feature? However, I'd rather have the feature than not have it. Okay. So the cape, I forgot. Does it come with 2 capes? Maybe just one, because this looks like just the regular drape cape that we did have with a little bit of wires here and there. But like I said, in some poses where it looks like the cape is just so dynamic, it looks really cool. At the end of the day, man, you cannot go like this. Okay, that cape's, I know it has some wires, very limited though, but that's a good pose right there. The angle is kind of fooling you as well, to think that the legs are really up high. I mean, I guess you could because it's ratchet, but obviously you don't recommend them posing for a long period of time like that. But the cape here, I'm guessing this is all stock. They shouldn't use any custom, you know. If I was Hot Toys, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna ask them to use any custom capes or even modify portions of this, like putting wires underneath it, because that's kind of false advertisement if you do that, especially for this. I'm assuming these are all sponsored, obviously, by Hot Toys. But look at the bottom part by his feet, like how that's curled up. That's beautiful. You know, like it drapes naturally, and it just looks pretty awesome. Again, this head sculpt right here, back in the day, there was a 2-pack where he is wearing the tux on the second pack. He looks like a darker tanned, I don't know, like a Latin version or a Brazilian version. They were saying that he looks Brazilian back then, of Michael Keaton. Oh, look at that. Like, he put in the base kind of like on a ledge. I don't know what that is, but it's black. It does blend in nicely. Look at that, with color correction. See, when I do this on my video, I color correct the background to the figure. In here, they should do the same, because we're not buying the background. And I get it, but, you know, it's kind of misleading. It's kind of misleading. But it's nice, by the way. Yeah, this is the pose that I was referring to. It looks pretty cool when it's like spread out. Oh, look at that. He's sitting on a Batmobile. Pretty awesome. I didn't even notice this. But yeah, speaking of Batmobile, if you are in search for one, I think there is still a few at Big Bad Toy Store. Randomly, it just appeared. I don't know why. Maybe a restock. Maybe they just had some in the back. But I'll put the link as well, you know, for that if you're in the lookout. Look at those legs right there. Semi lift off the leg. That already created that crease. Look at that. It's touching his belt. It's cool that he can do that. You know, I'm glad that it does. And it's, look at that cape. That cape looks pretty cool, you know. I hope there's no, you know, again, outside interference with that cape, because not everyone can do that, you know, if that's the case. But this look right here with a torn mask, that is pretty cool as well. That is a feature in the past. But I like this lines, this cool design of his armor as well. Although I would say I kind of prefer the 89 more, like the muscles and all that stuff. But it's a personal preference. Do you need to have this if you have the 89? I mean, it's really up to you. You can skip it, I suppose. It is fairly similar, but not really. But, you know, for somebody who has like 10 Spider-Mans and a gazillion Batman, what's another Keaton for me? This looks awesome. At worst, you can probably, you know, display them separately. You know, one next to a Batmobile, one, you know, doesn't. But let me know in the comments, how do you think it turned out? Are you happy with the final outcome? I would love to hear your thoughts. And I would love to hear, are you going to pick this up even though you got 89? Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.